Hey there, funnel builders. How are you doing? Mike here from S.A.L.E.S. We're doing some live training. If you're watching the replay, hello. Put sales in the comments if you are watching the replay. We're going to give it a couple of minutes because today we are talking about how to sell absolutely anything. This could be your marketing services. This could be consultation. This could be products. I want to make sure that people can hear me okay, so if you can, just let me know in the comments. That'll really help me out. Good afternoon, Mr. Davies. How are you doing? I'm using my new smart mic via StreamYard, so I want to make sure that people can hear me okay. Might be a bit of a delay, but it should be all right. What we're talking about, as I mentioned, is how to sell absolutely everything. I'm looking forward to how to sell left-handed pencils. Number one on the board, mate. It was number one on the board, but we had to get rid of it. Hey, thank you so much. Awesome. Excellent. Loud and clear. Fantastic. So we're going to get into this. So welcome to some free training. No opt-ins or anything like that. If you feel the love and the need to share, we are live. We are live both on Facebook inside the Sell Your Service group and on the YouTube page. So if you feel the love and you think actually a few people might want to check this out, by all means, go ahead and click share. But we're going to keep the replay up. I'm not putting this behind an opt-in wall or anything. I've really been digging into, what's the most amount of value that I can bring to you guys, to my audience, to friends. So I'm really excited to talk about this concept of literally selling anything. Matt apparently is in the market to sell left-handed pencils, which, we all know is a $15 billion. It probably is actually a massive market, isn't it? Probably is a multiple $billion-a year market. Good video too, fantastic. What mic are you using? Awesome. This is a smart mic and I'm using my Logitech Brio, but we've played around with the lighting. Isn't that funny? Haven't changed any of the setting. We've just played around with the lighting and I think it looks a lot better. So anyway, talking about selling absolutely anything. So in particular, I want to talk about how we sell our marketing services. So this could be consultation, it could be training, it could be the marketing services that you deliver. Predominantly, obviously, I teach people how to sell marketing funnels, but it could be social media, websites, it could be physical little widgets like, smart mics and stuff like this. We're going to cover off three main areas of how to make sure that your sales message is right. At the moment, there's a bit of an explosion of sales collateral and sales material. So I'm going to share some of the hacks that I've learned. Sorry, I hate that word, but some of the techniques and processes that I've learned to sell things really effectively and efficiently. I've been doing a lot of deep diving and thinking and going over our own content and going over our own sales processes and sales messages and what has worked for us and what hasn't worked, what's worked for customers and what hasn't worked for customers. So I'm really excited to share this process with you and hopefully just spark a few ideas on if there's something missing and you think, what, I just wish we had more X, predominantly, presumably, sales, revenue, customers, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It also doesn't matter about the price point. The concepts that I'm going to share with you here work for even free stuff like opt-ins, where you just ask for an email address in exchange for a lead magnet or some content or some training or even joining a Facebook group. I would consider that a sale. I would say, hey, I get this all the time, you guys maybe get it as well. I join LinkedIn, I hop on board and someone immediately says, hey, I've got this group for entrepreneurs. You should go ahead and join it on Facebook. I'm like, whoa, slow down. That's a sale. So all the way from the free stuff up to, well, this process we use to sell, $100,000 server racks and server blades back when I was working at a couple of telco companies and data security companies, government projects involved in the Middle East, car manufacturers, universities, insurance companies, and everything in between. And whatever your sweet spot is, we're not going to be talking necessarily about where to find a niche. This might help a little bit with finding a niche though. We're also not going to talk necessarily about pricing because I believe that this concept works with all price ranges. If you have any questions at all, throw them into the chat, throw them into the comments. I can read them. So if you've got any questions, but in the meantime, let's get into it. So I think part of the problem is how generic our sales messages can become. If we sell marketing services, marketing funnels, websites, social media, content marketing, email marketing, it actually doesn't matter what the thing is that you sell. Fantastic. Hey, Beth, glad you could join us. It doesn't matter what the thing is, what the service is, what the process is. And when I go through this with people, they tend to think, yeah, but everyone's selling that. And it upsets them a little bit because they're worried about becoming generic. And of course, you have to stand out, right? You have to stand out in today's market. But I think people miss a trick and they focus on the wrong thing that they try to make more interesting and more unique. Your customers have their own life, right? They have a life completely outside of you. As incredible as that sounds, right? They actually have no interest in who you are. They live their life, they've lived their life for 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 years before meeting you. And inside that life, they've kind of probably got their top 3 problems. These are things that they want to fix. It's also things like headaches. You know, the actual thing that they get stressed about, they need to worry. They worry about. These are things that are happening in their life. This is the present. So this is where we are now. Okay, in terms of timelines, this is where we are now. So they've got things they want to fix in their life. They've got headaches. They've basically got a few negative situations as well. That's not to say their life is completely doom and gloom. Of course it's not. They're extremely happy, the majority of them, about where they are. But they've still got things they want to make better. Because we're aware of who we are as people. I know that my biggest problem in my life right now is focus and time management. I know that. Now, I know that regardless of how many time management and productivity solutions are out there. It's irrelevant. Now, the standpoint that a lot of businesses take is they say, but I'm a productivity and time management coach, so surely people are looking for time management and productivity and focus coaching. Not necessarily, and that's kind of part of the problem. We're aware of where we are right now. And the first 3 things that you need to figure out is the top 3 problems that your customers are facing right now. Now, this could be for absolutely anything. And the reason I like this method is because it takes the pressure off having to have a process or a system or even a product, right? You don't even have to worry about that. All we need to think about is their top 3 problems. These are typically very emotive things. I don't lay awake at night worried about, well, where am I going to find a coach? I lay awake at night thinking, how am I going to get 24 hours worth of work put into the next day? Because those are the deadlines that I've put on me. So I'm just going to open the window here. It's getting a bit warm. So if we want to sell literally anything, even if we don't have a product, or no matter what your product is, the first thing I want us to understand is the top 3 problems that you are fixing, the top 3 problems that you are solving. These are going to be, things that they're aware of. These are negative situations. They're sick and tired of having to come into work half an hour early to take care of the support tickets, right? So that's a literal event. And we have a process at S.A.L.E.S, and I talk about this in Apex campaigns. I talk about this in the book. What's the first thing they think about when they wake up? How do they feel when they open their emails? We want to really look at the customer's life and the things they want to fix, the things they're having a headache about, and the situation that they're currently in. And then on the other side here, this is basically the future. So again, this is their life. And they internally have their own goals. And again, this is critical. And this is probably the first biggest point. Most people know the problems they're going to fix, right? And we'll talk about this. If you write down 3 things you think, yeah, well, everyone solves that. Time management, they don't have enough sales, and they don't have enough clarity on their business, right? Maybe you think, yeah, but everyone has that problem. Don't worry about that. Even if it's generic, I want you to write it down. And this is the problem, is people think if that's generic and that's generic, they have to make all the other stuff complex and unique, and it's basically incorrect. So first three problems. And if you're not writing this down now, absolutely not a problem. Obviously, this is going to be recorded. I'm not taking this down or anything, so we can go through this as long as you learn the process, right? And there's a little initialism that I'm going to share with you later as well. So next up in their life, they have their own goals. And these are things that they are aiming for. We are goal-driven organisms. We're not driven by the past, we're driven by the future. And you might think, actually, in my life, in the future, I want to work fewer hours. I want less stress. I want more control over what it is that I'm working on. Immediately, most businesses who are selling a product will think, the goal I can fix, or the thing I can give, or the thing people need is they need to be able to hire a graphic designer for cheaper. That's what I think the world needs. And I know that their goal is to have a cheaper graphic designer. And it might be that actually the customer's goal in the future is a better handle over money in general, not to hire a cheaper graphic designer, but have a better handle on their money. This is the difference between selling what people need and selling what people want. You have to understand the goals of your customers. What do people want? And the easiest way to find this out is to spend 15 minutes on Google. Spend 15 minutes on, is it Answer the Public? I use it all the time and I always forget what it's called. And I'll type in, I type in sales or marketing funnels or running a business or entrepreneurship, and it will come up with entrepreneurial stress, right? If people are searching for that, that's their goal. They want to get there. So I want to understand their goals, what's better about their life. I want to know what they want to change to become positive. So these are like positive emotions they want to feel. And if we look at the kind of headaches or the negative emotions, confused, stressed, overworked, tired, lack of clarity, unsure, unconfident, over here, they think, actually, I just want to feel confident about the direction of the business. I want clarity. The amount of businesses, only today, I've been on 2 calls this morning and a bunch of forum posts about just wanting clarity, just wanting to know, am I moving in the right direction, or what is the next step? And the problem is we begin to think, well, these are generic things, so I need to overcomplicate this, and we don't. So there's goals, there's positive emotions, there's basically, we've changed the situation, right? So this is, again, focused entirely about the customer, and this is in the future. So some of you have seen this stuff before, might know that one of my personal sayings is sell futures, not features. If we were to write this stuff out, and I'm going to be as generic as possible, to help you guys out. Most people in their business are probably suffering from a lack of leads, lack of sales, and probably some sort of confusion around where they are in the market, where they need to focus on next. Let me know in the comments if this sounds like your customer. If this sounds, you think, yep, this is basically my customer. Those are their 3 big problems. Whenever I speak to anyone, they say, those are the 3 biggest problems. I don't have enough leads, I don't have enough sales, or I don't have enough traffic. When we look at this internally, we tend to think, yeah, but this is kind of generic and everyone's selling that. And this is the big hurdle that we have to get over. Then if we look at the goals, most people want more money, more time, and I'm going to put freedom down, but it's actually a mixture of between freedom and confidence, because more time and more money basically should equate to freedom, but a lot of people will take confidence. They're actually looking for direction and guidance. That's why Google sounds like me. So here's the interesting thing, Steve. I'm going to talk about that in a second. That's both me and my customer. I'm going to talk about that in a second, because this is the fascinating exercise. This is the fascinating thing that we discovered through going through this exercise with some big businesses, small businesses, people starting out, people who've been going a long time. Over here, they want to have more money, they want to have more time, and they want confidence. And we know they want confidence because confidence is basically the assuredness of an outcome. They're sure of the outcome without even trust. They just know it's going to happen. They're confident in the direction their business is going. They're confident in investing more in advertising. They're confident in email marketing. Okay. If these are generic, here's the fascinating thing. If we were to write these down on a business that does 100 billion, a business that does 100 million, a business that does 100,000, and a business that's just done 10,000, every single one of these businesses has these problems. Every single one of these businesses wants this future, right? You could say, oh, the CEO and the owner and the founder and the board directors, what are you doing? Beeping the horn. All of these guys, no matter how big their business is, struggle with a lack of leads, a lack of sales, and confusion. Now, there's a bunch of other stuff in there as well, right? There's staff turnover. That's a big problem. Staff in general. Suppliers. And over here, there's not just more time, more money, freedom. There's things like exits. There's that kind of basically ego, you know, the sense of being proud. I could be extremely confident about where I'm going, but maybe I don't internally feel that proud about it or whatever. These guys, no matter where you are on this scale, presumably you guys are around the $100 billion mark. I'm just presuming, yeah? These guys have got these problems and these problems. 100K, these problems. 1 million, you know. That could be pounds, euros, doesn't matter. Have got the same problem. Here's where, and so this is the second thing I want you to do. Write out a list of the goals that your customers have got. Where do they want to get to? Now, this could be literal numerical goals where they want to double the size of their business. For example, a business that's doing £1 million a year is right on the cusp of like true scale. They've worked extremely hard to get there and they're right on the cusp of true scale. That's a big problem. But a business that's at 10 million wants to get to 20, different set of problems, but ultimately they still have relatively the same goals. More money, more time, more confidence. So that's the first thing, write out our problems. Second thing is write out the goals. If you guys saw the email yesterday, you'll know kind of where I'm going with this. With this put together, we already have a pretty compelling sales pitch for anything. Because if I was able to get in front of a CEO, in fact, I only had a customer call me up today. He was like, hey man, how's it going? I was like, yeah, I'm good. I haven't spoken to in a while. How's lockdown, etc., etc. He said, yeah, look, I need some advice. We're basically thinking of pivoting the business. Okay, great. Why is that? Well, we're worried about the future, confusion or worry or lack of confidence, you know, some kind of emotion. Leads have dried up, yep. And our sales have dried up, yep. Okay, well, what is it you're looking to get to? Well, ultimately what we want is we want to be sure about that we're putting our money and time in the right place. I'm sick and tired of working 12-hour days just to get us back to where we were, and we need more sales. Awesome, yeah, we can definitely help with that. That's as complex as the pitch needs to get. That really is as complex as the pitch needs to get. Here's the problem. Most people, as in customers, left to their own device, will try to get from where they are now to the future, and they'll make a ton of mistakes, If you can think of any of the mistakes that people make, customers make, trying to get there, write them in the comments. I'm going to write a few just so we have some ideas. First of all, they'll hire a cheap marketer. How many of us have spoken to customers who have spent $5,000 on, you know, an intern or, you know, whatever, only for the money not to go anywhere. So they've just given money to somebody else and just kind of hoped and prayed that it would go away. Right? Secondly, a lot of people try to start another business. That's really common. This one is surprisingly common. They think, well, if I'm going to dig myself out of this hole, I need to start a new business, which in my opinion is basically out of the frying pan and into the fire. It's like saying, I'm going to dig a hole in order to get out of this hole. It's like Chief Wiggum in the Simpsons where he tells them to dig up, stupid. Hiring cheap marketers, starting a new business. They also might have internal limiting beliefs. They might have internal limiting beliefs. They say, well, I couldn't possibly get there because, you know, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not talented enough, I'm not X enough. I think that and this is where I really work on. This is my number one problem that I try to solve with frankly, with you guys, with my audience, with my customers, the people I write the book for, is people who have an internal limiting belief who say, I'm not talented enough, I'm not experienced enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not old enough, I'm not well connected enough, I'm not educated enough, I'm not hardworking enough, I don't have a big enough vision, I don't have enough products, I don't have enough money, whatever this internal limiting belief is that prevents them from getting there. So they actually won't even try to take action. They just have already decided, I'm not interested. I cannot do this. All right. I can't do this because ... And it's a dumb internal thing. It's like listening to the idiot school bully when you're a kid. It's like listening to that boss who says you'll never get anywhere. It's like listening to that manager who says, you know what, you're lazy. I remember being called, I can't remember whether I've told you guys this. I've been fired from marketing jobs, fired, because I didn't get it. And it's easy I could have quit and then said, well, I don't get marketing. Actually, it turns out that those guys don't get marketing. The reason I know that is because 2 of them fucking work for me now. Anyway, I remember a client replacing all of the marketing services that our agency provided with a 12K a year employee. As you can imagine, it went really well for them. Well, again, that $15 billion a year pencil company, Matt, presumably that was them. They just took off gangbusters, right? So yeah, hiring a cheap marketer, that's a classic mistake. Starting a new business, there's a ton of mistakes that they have. They also might think, well, I can't do that because if I want to change my leads and sales and I want to get to more money, I basically need to save some money first. I need to stop spending, which is the classic thinking you have an expense problem rather than an income problem. They want to save money or they stop spending, which is what you're going to start seeing now is, and we're already seeing this, it's very convenient. Coca-Cola and Nike have both pulled out of Facebook advertising, and a bunch of other companies have to say, you know, we don't really agree with their ethics. Coca-Cola saying they don't agree with ethics, which is, you know, a bit like the company who makes like Heckler and Koch, the gun company, saying we don't want to advertise on Instagram because we don't like the way it represents body image. I mean, it's nonsense, right? The reason that Coca-Cola and a lot of these companies have stopped advertising is because we're about to hit a massive global correction or revolution, whatever you want to call it, and they stop spending. And they've put it on the guise of ethics. It's got nothing to do with that. It's because of the way that they work. But amazingly, a lot of businesses and a lot of people will think, I've got a lack of leads, a lack of sales, I'm confused about where I want to go. I know what will fix it. Stop spending money. Oh, that'll work. No, that doesn't work. Just because you stop driving the car, it doesn't magically fill up with fuel. You've got to expand. You don't have a spending problem, you've got an income problem. So those are some of the mistakes people make. So those are myths that they believe. They believe the myth, they falsely believe the myth that is that they need to save money or stop spending. Some of the mistakes they make is they start a new business, they hire a cheap marketer, or an internal limiting belief is that they aren't smart enough, clever enough, experienced enough. Great one here from Steve, keep doing what they're always doing, classic. That's a classic one. And yeah, you're absolutely right. This is kind of, we'll put this over here. Keep on trucking. Now, you and I know, there's an apostrophe there, isn't it? That if you have confidence and you're measuring your numbers and you're continuing to spend and grow, keep on trucking is absolutely what you want to do. But so many businesses and like, Ramsey's Kitchen Nightmares is a great example of this. We were just watching it now at lunchtime, where they're like, look, you haven't got any customers, no one wants to eat here, and your menu is all over the place. Lead sales confusion. I go, yeah. But we've always made pizza this way. We've always made our ragu this way. We've always made our pasta this way. I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, perfect one, Steve. That's really good. Now, there's actually a fuck ton of these, okay? There's myths, mistakes, limiting beliefs. So that's the third thing that we need to write down. So we've got our top 3 problems. Well done, Mike. Got our top 3 problems here. Now, if you want to really do this, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write out 100 problems, just for the sake of it. I learned this from Daniel Priestley, who's the author of 24 Assets, Entrepreneur Revolution, Oversubscribed, and Key Person of Influence. He was like, oh, you reckon you know your customers? Write down 100 of their problems then. And by about 10, people go, oh, I can't think of any more. But yeah, if you can smash out 100, That's where you want to get to, right? So you've got 100 problems. At least the top 3. The sales process of how to sell anything starts with the top 3. Secondly, what are their goals? Where do they want to get to? Not what can you offer, where do they want to get to? If you sell marketing services, you have as much ability to help someone exit their business as you do having someone hire more staff, take on investors, double the size of their business every 2 years or every year. What do they want? And don't be afraid to get generic. Don't be afraid to get like squishy with it, you know, emotional. Freedom, confidence. They want clarity, they want direction. So they might want purpose, they want motivation, more time, more money, right? And the third thing is, what are the mistakes they're making, the myths they believe, or the self-limiting beliefs that they have about themselves? Just list out a few of those, because the direction that they're going to take is that. These are basically the reasons they're not going to buy, not because you're too expensive. If you're expensive or you cost a lot of money, they'll say, oh, it's too expensive. It's not. It's because they mistakenly believe they need to save money or stop spending. If they go, that's a lot of money, that's not you being a lot of money. That's them thinking, I'm not talented enough, or I'm not experienced enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not hardworking enough, I don't think our products are that good. Whatever self-limiting belief they have about themselves, and therefore they don't think it's worth spending 10 grand on themselves. It's got nothing to do with you. You, unfortunately, have got nothing to do with the fucking equation. As I mentioned, they've got their life outside of you. Yeah, they've been doing perfectly fine. Yeah, they've got problems, but they're alive, and they had nothing to do with you. These are the reasons they won't buy from you. Here's what happens though. After we go through this process, hopefully you at some point have got a process of helping them get there. Whatever it is, I don't know. Unrealistic expectations, so they cannot identify progress. Interesting on unrealistic expectations, yeah. Now, if I was a gambling man, Charlie, I would say that someone has unrealistic expectations because deep down they know that they can't reach that because they have one of these other beliefs at heart. Typically, people who have got crazy high expectations have them because they know they'll be disappointed. It's much easier for me to justify I'm firing this marketing agency that we hired because they couldn't get us a 10 to 1 return on investment on ad spend. Yes, your expectations are high, yep. But the reason their expectations are high is because deep down they believe they're not worth investing in themselves, or because they want to save money. So that core, that kind of deeper motivation. You now have a process of getting people there. I'm not getting into the details of this because this is where people make the mistake. To get from where they are now to where they want to be, bearing in mind that everyone from FTSE 500 companies to brand new startups have basically the same problems and basically the same goals. Content marketing will help you get there. Blog writing will help you get there. Ads will help you get there. Funnels will help you get there. Emails will help you get there. Social can absolutely help you get there. SEO can help you get there. Consulting can help you get there. Coaching, courses, books, courses, books, podcasts, tools, SaaS products, and everything in between is basically trying to drive us to this state here. And we know this categorically for a fact. It is not the delivery method that is tied to the results. Results do not equal delivery, right? Results, or goals if you want to call them that, the future does not equal delivery. We know this for a few reasons. First of all, earlier, Steve mentioned keep on trucking, keep doing what you're doing. We know that the particular result that the delivery, the method that they are currently working on will not get them to that result if they just keep doing it. We also know that there are companies that do all of this and they do it well. There's companies that do all of this and they do a really shit job. There's companies that just do one area of this and they just write books on it that do a great job. There's companies that just write books and they do a shit job. If I said to you, or if I said to the customer that called me up today, Pete, you've got to, ultimately you're worried about lack of sales. You're unsure of what the market's going to bring to you, in the future. You're really struggling with the idea of not having enough sales, and perhaps you're a bit confused about this. Am I right in thinking that you want to get more sales? Maybe even just keep them at the level they were before the process, before the situation we're in now? Yes, that's absolutely it. Would you like some help with that? Yes, that's absolutely it. Those are the conversations you can have. You can write that out. Are you currently facing this problem here, or these series of problems? Is this you? Now, we laugh at the kind of infomercial world where they're like, is this you? And the reality, though, is that it works. Because, yeah, it speaks to me. Those are my problems. All right? That's ultimately my problem. In the kitchen, my problem is, well, at the moment, let's be honest, the biggest problem I have in my kitchen is we were going to get a washing machine installed, and now I have to still do everything by hand because someone was going to come round and we had lockdown, couldn't get someone round. So the biggest problem I have in my kitchen is, washing up by hand. If they showed that, Mike, is this you sat here washing up? Like, yeah. Wouldn't you rather have more time not having to do this? Yeah, that'd be great. Right. Almost every single person who owns a kitchen has that problem. All right. You don't want the problems to be so specific that only a hyper-specific portion of the market wants it. Stop thinking of this as the unique factors and start thinking of it as the universal language that your customers will understand. The time for uniqueness will come. Here's the problem. People think that what they deliver is the unique bit. They think, okay, well, we're a coaching company, and we just do coaching. Now, earlier, when I spoke to Pete, my customer, said, oh, you're worried about sales, get you back up to where you are. At no point did I mention the product. At no point did I mention the name of the service. At no point did I mention the delivery method, because it's irrelevant. If someone came to me and said, Mike, is this you? Oh, bloody washing up again. Sick of it. Wouldn't you rather be doing this, sat down watching TV? At the moment, I'm watching the Midnight Gospel. Mad. Is this you? Would you rather be this? Yeah. Great. Click here. We can figure this out. Ah, cool. It's like a little bit to do with a washing up machine or washing machine. Dishwasher. There we go. Dishwasher is the term I'm looking for. People immediately say what you need is coaching. You need coaching. That's what I'm going to sell to you. You need coaching. If you're worried about a lack of leads, a lack of sales, no time, confused, worried about staff or suppliers, you want to get over here, you need coaching. That's not true. That's not true. We need to move away from that. We need to move away from that process. The sale is not made by telling someone the delivery process, because all of these are designed to pretty much do the same thing. And so many businesses say, oh, well, people either go one way or the other. They'll say, we're an SEO specialist. Well, SEO specialist in what? Unless I'm an SEO buyer, I'm actually not interested in SEO. And the reason why, when I say this, people go, my customers call me up specifically asking for SEO. I'll promise you that if I had the same conversation with those customers and targeted them, and I said, aren't you sick of the fact that you have to pay every single month to have someone else rank you on Google? Yeah, it's a bit annoying. How about if we could generate you the same amount of sales with a different pricing structure, and you don't ever have to look at another report again? Go, yeah, that sounds awesome. Great. All of a sudden, they're not interested in SEO. All of a sudden, that concept is irrelevant to them. People might have come to you thinking, I need to have SEO. Is that one of these reasons? Is that one of those myths or mistakes? If you sell SEO, awesome. I'm picking on SEO. Social media is another great one. If people think that social media or SEO is the key, and they come to you asking for that service, that doesn't mean they're going to stick with you forever. It means that they believe that that's what's going to get them there. You still have to sell the future through their goals. You still have to help them move away from their current problems and fix those problems. So I want us to stop thinking about the results and delivery. Here's what we're going to do instead. I talked a bit about on my previous coaching call and another couple of previous videos. Let's take a lack of sales and let's take freedom and confidence. I'm just going to focus on those for the time being. Here's some ways to find truly unique ways to start selling anything. First of all, as I mentioned, I'm not going to talk about niche, but it does come up. You've got your audience or niche. That's a big part of it. You've also got what I call a little bit of spice. Right? This is kind of like your garnishing on your steak. If I throw a steak on the barbecue and I put barbecue sauce on it, or I just salt it, or I just mince it up and serve it with an egg, it's basically the same ingredients to start with, but the flavor is completely different depending on the little bit of seasoning and the spice I've added. Whatever your audience is, and again, we can actually get pretty generic with this. I don't think you should be generic, obviously. I think your audience needs to be well defined. But even if your audience is well defined, they're going to have the same problems and around about the same goals. But if you go after a specific audience, that doesn't mean industry. That doesn't even mean a type of person. It could be just a shared characteristic. For example, businesses. There we go. Businesses under 1 million. Ta-da! All right, there's some specificity there. Spice on the board today. I love a bit of spice, a bit of seasoning. Right, so we've got businesses under 1 million. All right, and you can test this. There's some easy ways to test this. Businesses under 1 million. Worried about a lack of sales. Already, this is a pretty killer headline. Right? It doesn't matter what you do. If you do funnels, landing pages, squeeze pages, remarketing, email marketing, database management, SEO, social media. Businesses under 1 million. Worried about a lack of sales? What if you had confidence in your sales future, your sales future, or your future sales, or whatever. There are businesses currently under $1 million in revenue or £1 million in revenue who are absolutely worried about a lack of sales. And if they're not, it doesn't matter because they're not interested in talking to you. And if they want specifically confidence in their future of sales, what have you had confidence in your sales future? If you've tried hiring agencies in the past and it didn't work, okay, so that's the misconception, the myth, the self-limiting belief, whatever it might be. And then we're just going to say call us or download here or join. This is an example of the audience. That could be businesses who have at least 50 products. That could be, are you worried about a lack of leads? What if you were able to sell your business? Okay, audience, problem, the goal they're moving towards, and the thing they've tried to avoid in the past. And then some kind of call to action. The spice element comes in when we add, and I am staggered at the number of businesses who are in basically the method of generating sales, generating revenue, generating audience, and they say, well, I'm not interested in doing direct marketing. It looks too spammy. Yeah, only if you do it in a spammy way. I can assure you, I don't know how many people we've got, 36 people watching us live right now. I sent 2 emails. They were absolutely direct marketing. If you haven't read Cashvertising, great book to start with, by Drew Whitman. There we go. Cashvertising by Eric Whitman, and The Ultimate Sales Letter by the hero Dan S. Kennedy. You will learn that there will be certain phrases, so that's our audience, that's one way to make it specific, right, here. And you can test it, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Businesses under $1 million. The spice comes in when we add just a little seasoning either side of the sentences. So, losing sleep. Worried about a lack of sales? What if you finally had confidence in your sales future? Here's the interesting thing that happens. Immediately, funnel builders, marketers, agencies, they'll go, whoa, 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 whoa. This is getting hypey. This is getting spammy. Sure. And if you can't deliver that, if you can't help someone with that, you probably shouldn't be saying it. There's only 2 reasons why you would be hesitant to add any kind of spice or flavor or direct marketing language. First of all, you're worried about what other people think about you. You're worried that your colleagues will look at it and go, oh God, it's a bit spammy. You know what? And we'll talk about this in a second. If something was considered spammy but generated me $100,000 a month in sales, they can call it spammy all they want. It's typically a self-limiting belief that's preventing them from doing the same because they know they don't want to deliver the work. They'd rather not get the results in, and they'd rather not get the customers in because they're worried about not doing it. So that's the first thing. You're probably worried about what other people in your network would think. The other thing is you'll think, yeah, but what will my customers think? They don't care. They absolutely don't care. You're speaking to them and you're making it hyper specific about the problems that you're fixing. It's okay if someone doesn't like it. There are plenty more people that will. Yeah, perfect point, Matt. And that's kind of the point is, if someone reads that, I don't think that's particularly spammy. Business is under $1 million. If you're losing sleep, worried about a lack of sales, what if you finally had confidence in your sales future? If you've tried hiring agencies in the past, brackets, and it didn't work, or brackets, and it sucked, click here, call us, download, whatever. We haven't talked about the funnel. We haven't talked about SEO. We haven't talked about social media. And this can be just a tiny little section of the page, or you can blow it out into an entire sales letter. This is how we make sales, is by understanding the difference between where the customer is now and where they want to be and the roadblocks they faced. Educating people about your process has its place, but it's not how you'll make the sale. It's not how you'll drive that initial sale. Here's what we can start doing, right? So first of all, I want to give you a little initialism just to help out with this. So if you want to make sales, we need sales. Set goals, right, which is this over here. Aggravate problems. This is then, which is like steps, I guess. So like next steps, those immediate next steps. Limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs are again your objection, the self-limiting or the myths or mistakes that they've gone over in the past that haven't worked out. So we have setting goals, we have aggravating the problem. So if we, and again, the order of the sales letter or the orders of the sales page doesn't really matter. It's kind of irrelevant. But that's just how I like to remember it. Setting goals is understanding the future that the customer wants to work in. The aggravating problems is where they are now. Limiting beliefs is the myth that's in the middle, or the mistakes, or the objections, the reason they don't want to buy. And then we have steps. We also have this motivating force coming from over here, which is basically trends. So these are things they can't control. Right now, I don't think that matters too much. It can be very powerful. So that's economic, technological, and sociological trends. But let's not worry about that one too much for the time being, because these change and you can always kind of pepper these in, right? Spice Girls. Amazing how much spammy chat you can get away with if you have 1 or 2 testimonials. 100%. But it doesn't even need to be, I don't know, I never understood the point of when people say, oh, it's very spammy. I think it's a little bit like people who have a go at direct marketing and understanding copywriting are a little bit like food critics. If you are in, I can understand if customers, if I was, a teacher and I'd see that kind of stuff and I think, yeah, I'm just not fucking interested. It doesn't turn me on at all. It's not interesting at all. And yet, I don't know why I've picked on my mum, but when my mum sees a trailer for, what was that one with Chris Hemsworth, Extraction, which is basically a trailer is spam, right? It's the most hyped up parts of the movie placed into a very short, cohesive narrative that thinks, yeah, I want to watch that. She's all over that, right? A marketer who has a go at direct marketing language and calls it spammy is the equivalent of a food critic. It's someone who doesn't want to work at it themselves and who's afraid of seeing what the results are that they drive. It's someone who basically can't hack being a chef. Food critics, the only types of food critics that are available are chefs. The only type of movie critics are available are people who don't have the gall or the chance to go out and make their own movies. If you are a critic by nature, it usually means that you're a failure in that aspect, which sounds pretty fucking harsh, but that's the cold hard reality. If you're a marketer that doesn't like understanding direct marketing, direct response, strong copywriting, sales writing, you're basically the equivalent of a critic. You're not willing to really push it as hard as you can. And here's how we can test this as well, right? So we had our audience, or our niche. We then had the problem. We had the goal, and we had the call to action. And throughout all of that, we had a little bit of spice on both sides. For, I don't know, we're currently getting video views for something like 2 cents, so 0.02 cents for one video view. That's for an entire through play on Facebook, for example. On YouTube, it's 0.3 for a through play, and this varies from 30 seconds to about 10-15 minutes, and so on and so forth. I will take these kinds of headlines and I will write blog posts about it. I'll do videos, I'll do ads, I'll do podcasts, I'll do subject lines, I'll do sales pages, I'll do call to action buttons, so just all over the site. I'll do opt-ins and other kinds of landing pages or squeeze pages. And I'll take this type of language and I'll put them everywhere. And it will become very apparent that what people are really connecting with is one thing or the other. People really, really identify with businesses under $1 million, or they don't. No one clicked on it. No one watched it. No one read it. All right, fine. We don't worry about that anymore. We get rid of it. I'm letting the market tell me what it is that they want to work on. The name for 5-Figure Funnels, the new book coming out, the concept, the title, the taglines, all of this was tested months ago. Before, during I was writing it, we just spent, I don't know, $50, $100 just seeing what gets the most clicks, what gets the most people viewing it. 5-Figure Funnels, how to sell a marketing funnel for over $25,000, even if you have zero experience. There's a blog post, one of our highest ranked blog posts, one of our highest watched videos, one of our most watched YouTube adverts, one of our most watched Facebook adverts, one of our most clicked on titles. We just tested it over and over and over and again. And that's how you basically learn how to sell anything, because it doesn't matter what the bit in the middle is. All the customer is worried about is their problems. So we want to agitate their problems and their goals. We want to set their goals, or they have set their own goals. One final piece. A few years ago, I had a customer who ran, frankly, a pretty successful series of shops in my hometown. And he and I got on really, really well, even though he was in retail and I was in digital marketing. And he said, Mike, let me talk to you about the world of e-commerce. I was like, okay, man, let's do it. I want to sell, at the time it was mobility stuff, I want to sell mobility stuff to my customers. What do you think the best method is? I was like, well, I think having an e-commerce store works really well, but also, email marketing is very, very good. He was like, okay, I haven't really done email before. I was like, all right, Sam, let's say that I set you up a website. What's your goal, by the way? He said, well, if we made £1 million a year turnover through sales, through the website and the business, 50-50, so 500 grand through the website, which is, bearing in mind, their products are about £1,000 each. Yeah, so 500 sales, 500 to 1,000 sales, not a problem. All right. He said, but what's the best types of design? What's the best types of methodology? I was like, well, let's say that my team builds a website for you. He had a pretty decent budget. And all they do is they put one massive button in the middle of the page. And every time someone clicks on it, it puts £1,000 into your account. And we know that it has a conversion rate of 0.1%. All right. So this basically will put £1,000 in your account. And it's just white. It might be, maybe the button's red, but that's all. And we drive a bunch of traffic to this page, pay for the traffic. And every time someone pushes that, it delivers sales. Do you care what the website looks like? It's like, no, not if it delivered results like that. All right. Do you care what the button it looks like? No. Do you care what the color of the button is like? No. Do you care how the button looks on the site? No. And the reason why is that people get so fixated on thinking the customer cares about the delivery method. They really, really don't. The thing that they are worried about is a lack of confidence or clarity in their own business. They're worried about sales. They're worried about leads. They're worried about staff. They're worried about turnover. They're worried about inventory. Their goals is they want an easier life. They want to spend less time at work, more time in the office. They want to feel proud of what they're building. They don't care how you do it. They do not care whether you build a button or a huge, massive, complex, super mega Amazon, Walmart type store. They've got no interest in that. Any customer that does have a real driving desire to really, really get in on the nitty gritty, you haven't understood their problems well enough and you haven't set their goals well enough. Because this here is ultimately what could happen to their business. And give them this model here. Say to them, look, man, if we did this and it looked like garbage and everyone said, my God, it looks like shit. Yeah, but every time someone clicks it, it puts £1,000 into my account. All of a sudden, people don't care. You don't get to have an opinion with marketing. It either works or it doesn't. Whew. Awesome, guys. Right, we're approaching an hour, so I massively appreciate everyone sticking around. We've had a pretty good turnout, actually. I'm really, really proud of this. This is awesome. I'm going to stick around for a few minutes. If people have any questions, put them in the chat. I'm going to be hanging around for a little bit, but also, obviously, this video, I will publish it or republish it, so to speak, so that you can comment on it. If you have any questions whatsoever, let me know down in the comments below, either on Facebook or on YouTube. We're in both places right now. If people have got any questions for the next 5 or 6 minutes, I'm more than happy to answer them. If there wasn't something that I'd covered off, if there was something that I hadn't covered off or went over too quickly, if you don't call this spicy copy, I'm going to be seriously, seasonally disappointed. Sorry, mate, I didn't think of that. Cool. Well, I'm having a look here. It doesn't look like I can see any questions coming through. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Massively appreciate you sticking with me here. Hope this was useful. As I mentioned, awesome video. I actually said to a customer, you don't get to have an opinion on your marketing. Awesome. That's cool, Kate. I'm glad about that. That's fantastic. Yeah. It's an interesting question. I'm often curious as to why people feel the need to kind of, dive in and say, oh, I think we could do this. I think we could do that. And typically it's because they don't really know what they're doing in their own stuff, and they kind of want to control other stuff. Very useful as always. Awesome. What's the best way to find a niche's problem? We can do this really quickly. Okay, so there's two ways to start this. First of all, if you already know who your niche is, if you already know who your niche is, you need to spend a day, 2 days Googling, going on Facebook, going on YouTube, and really deep diving into that niche as much as possible. Really going to town on their groups, their blog posts. And at first, this is the problem, is you sit there now and you think, okay, and let's say your niche is something ludicrously specific, like you only work with businesses who have, well, I've got a list of niches somewhere. Let's say that you only work with businesses who sell via Facebook Live. That's all you do. You only work with businesses who sell via Facebook Live. You might think, well, where the hell, I don't know where they're hanging out. Yes, you do. You need to just spend a lot of time. At the moment, you've got this massive expanse of blank page in front of you. You need to get into it and get dirty and start Googling, what are they looking for? What kinds of things are people looking for on selling on Facebook Live? The niche. Let's say your niche is businesses of under $1 million, right? You might think, well, where in the hell am I going to get that? The first thing you do is businesses under $1 million, and you start researching and getting notes. You go, all right, fine. It looks like that particular type of business is called a lifestyle business. That's the technical name for it. Awesome. All right, let's start going into that. And you just spend a fuck ton of time researching it, because the things they're looking for are their problems. The things they're searching for are their problems. The second way you can do it is calling them up. Let's say that your niche is translation and localization companies. I'm just going to Google as many translation and localization companies as I can and say, hey, my name's Mike Gillen. I work with translation and localization businesses. What is your biggest problem right now? What are you really struggling with right now? And yeah, maybe 1 out of 100 will get back to you. That's a hell of a lot better than none. And that one call, that one conversation could lead to not just sales, but an entire business. The third way is to list out all the problems that you can fix. Forget what the niche has got. Just list out all the problems that you can fix, and list out as many specific problems that you can fix as possible. And as soon as you begin to deep dive into the problems that you can fix, you will begin to see patterns, and you'll start to think, actually, I should work with businesses who have got 2 kids and a dog, because the majority of my problems seem to revolve around that. That's how I'd want to go after that. What do you think of the local lead generation sales funnel business model? I.e., set up a funnel and charge a retainer for generating leads, private dentists, etc. Look, it's the reality is, are you asking me because that's what you want to do? So I'm going to get real with you, right? You were brave enough to put a comment out, and I massively appreciate it. Are you asking me because that's what you want to do? If that's what you want to do, I could tell you it's a bad idea, and you should still go out and do it, because you think, actually, fuck it, this is what I want to do. If you want to ask my advice and say, is this where I should put my money? I can't answer that, because you're the only type of person who's going to decide whether you're going to make that work or not. There's no business model in the world that will definitely work or definitely won't work. I've always said there is no such thing as a profitable niche. The profit is found in your commitment to that niche. I could give you 5 of the most profitable markets that I think people should be going after right now that everyone's ignoring. For example, no one is smashing the Instagram influencer to email marketing link. The amount of Instagram influencers who still have to work a full-time job even though they've got millions of followers is crazy, because they don't know how to fucking make money. They're very good at taking good-looking photos of themselves and the best Snapchat filters, but they don't know how to make money. Same with YouTube. YouTube had an adpocalypse twice in the past 2 years or 1 year. There's a lot of YouTube people who have got 10,000, 100,000, 50,000, 200,000 followers and subscribers, but have no idea how to build an email list. There's businesses who are localized, dentists or whatever. who need to transition into an online model. A colleague of mine runs a sports therapy business. Liv was telling me that he now spends, for every half an hour treating someone, he spends 40 minutes having to disinfect and clean down the area. Now, I'm immediately thinking there's a fuck ton of ways that he can make money. Training, content, courses, books, there's software, there's applications, there's a ton of ways that he can make money, tons of ways. But it's only in my commitment to that niche will we find any opportunities. So if you want to go after and generate leads for local businesses, absolutely. But you have to commit to it for 5 years before you're going to see any results. There's no like magic gold vein on the floor. There's no magic mine anywhere that's going to make people think, oh shit, instantly I know where I'm going to make money with this. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. The first year you do $20,000 worth of sales. The second year you do 40,000. The third year you do 80,000. The next year you do 160 and then 320,000. And even then you're not close to it. Do I think generating leads for local businesses works? Not really. I would completely flip the model. And what is the dentist's problem? Okay, you've immediately gone to, is that the thing I should focus on? So with all due respect, I don't know how much of this you watched, Reb, you've gone to immediately to the delivery bit in the middle is the bit I should focus on. What you should be saying is, what are the top 3 goals that dentists have got? Most of them want to retire early and leave the office by 3. And the biggest problems they've got, sourcing, expensive materials, and lead generation. There are 1,000 ways that you could help them do lead generation. If you had the world's best blog site that just spoke on how dentists or local, and you have to be specific, how dentists can generate more leads for their business and how they can reduce their operating costs, that's $1 million business right there. Not overnight, not even in the first 3 years. But should you offer funnel-based services for lead generation? Yeah, it could be one of the products that you offer. It could be one of the services that you offer. But what instead you need to be thinking is, what are the goals that you are solving, or the goals you're reaching for, and the problems you're solving? I tried this a few years ago, didn't work, tried again, and it's working really well. The only thing that's changed is me. Go for it. Awesome. So there's people who make it work, and there's people who are struggling with it. And it's the same with everything. It's not the delivery method that's going to generate results. Results do not equal delivery. Whew. All right, guys. I think that's it. So I've already gone over. Massively appreciate anyone who stuck with me for the hour there. I'm going to go off and get myself something for my throat because I can already feel myself losing my voice. In the meantime, I will upload this as a free video and I will speak to you guys later. Thanks very much for watching. Massively appreciate it. Have courage, commit, and take action. Bye, guys.